What is up, everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos, you'll learn how to use technical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others. Just wanted to quickly say before we get into the video, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. All right, let's dive into it here, starting off with Bitcoin on the weekly time frame. So you can see that we've had this pretty significant rise in price over the last if you consider this weekly candle as well, 6 weeks in a row. So very, very significant bounce coming off of this low that we set on July 19th. Part of that was due to what we consider to be a short squeeze, which is when shorts are forced out of their positions because the price is starting to rise. The whales in the market push the price up. The people that are going short, who are betting the price is going to go down, are forced to close out their positions because if they do not, they'll either get liquidated, which means they're going to lose their entire account, or they will lose, get stopped out, or just lose a considerable amount of money. So they close their positions out, and that adds to the buying pressure because if you're going short, you have to buy your position back to close it. So that contributed to this rise in price, and now we are seeing it kind of start to, it seems at least, start to kind of round off. If you look at the kind of curvature of the price action, it seems as if we had high velocity here and it's starting to kind of dwindle a bit. If you look at it, it kind of looks like a curve. In addition to that, if we look at the volume on this exchange, this is one of the only major exchanges that I've seen that has increasing bull volume over the last 2 weeks. Every other one I've looked at, like Binance, Coinbase, and others, they have all declining bull volume over the last 4 weeks. So that tells me that that increases the likelihood that our high is going to be set. I've been talking about this for several weeks now. It's likely we're going to be setting a high on the weekly time frame, either this week or next week. And what that means is to set a high, it means that let's say that this candle closed right where we are now. We would need to break the low of this candle over the next week, and that would make this right here a high. So right now the low of this week is at 47,132. So if we form our high this week, then next week, if we close our candle this week and then next week we break below this low, then our high will have been set, and then we'll look to form a higher low somewhere above the previous low here at 29,254. And the reason is because the magnitude of the move, like I talk about, we've bounced so significantly here that it's very unlikely for us to just immediately draw down to a new lower low on the first go. Far more likely to set a higher low first, and so that gives bulls an opportunity to buy the dip on that higher low, and then it just becomes a matter of where that higher low is going to be set. All right, let's go to the 3-day time frame. So the 3-day time frame, this is very, very important where this 3-day candle closes. So right now, we are operating above the key high here that I've been talking about from August 14th. Now, we had a close above this key high here on the last 3-day candle, and now this candle is very close to that high. So where this candle closes in 4.5 hours is very important to us, because if it closes above the key high here, this black candle, this 3-day candle, will end up becoming a support zone for price. If we close below it, then it doesn't. And so if we do, the interesting thing, what I'll be interested to see is because the wick is so far into the support level already, if we did close above it and came down in the next 3-day candle into that support zone, my interest is in, are we going to be able to bounce from a level that's, the wick is already that far into it's like halfway into the support level, so we only really have half of a support level at that point, or are we going to blow right through it and do something like this? So here's a potential scenario. So if we close above this 3-day candle, let's say that we do, okay? If we do, this will become a support zone for price. So then there's really two scenarios that could play out here. One scenario is I didn't mean to grab the measurement tool. One scenario is then once we close that candle, we draw down into this the next 3 days. We go below the wick, making this a high and making this getting tested the first time. Then we have a bounce, and we bounce off of this blue support level. The other scenario is that we close above this level, and make it a support zone, but then we push right through it and close below it, 2 candlesticks below it. If we do that, this will end up being a resistance zone for price on a retest, and then we'll likely see a rejection thereafter. So those are the two scenarios, and because of the wick of this candle being so far into the zone already, I'm very curious as to see how the price is going to react to that level. So it's really only important if we close above that zone. If we close below it, then the zone doesn't turn into a support zone or an area of interest, and we just keep, at that point I'm more bearish, and then I would expect a further drawdown, potentially below this low here at 43,808. But one thing I wanted to note here was it's very likely that no matter where this candle closes today, we'll likely see a drawdown over the next 3 days to some extent, because of the fact that this is only the second test of this gray resistance level. So you can see we tested here. I talked about coming into it here, how likely it is we're going to reject off it. We reject. I said it's likely we're going to also reject a second time, and now we're coming into it that second time. So given that there's only 4.5 hours left, and right now, it depends on where the candle closes. If it closes very bullish, then there's obviously still a chance that we could continue higher. But right now, if it closes where it's at now, I would expect drawdown over the next 3 days. And that'll be our second rejection of that gray level. But that's good, though, long term, because then eventually, if we're a bull at least, because then eventually this level is getting weaker, the gray resistance zone, and we can eventually, once we come down and form a higher low, potentially go through that later on in the future. If we go to the single day time frame, we can see that we have a very good looking bull candle here so far, very quickly following this very bearish candle here with a very short lower wick that we had yesterday, right off of our bearish divergence here on the RSI, where the price was making higher highs, but the RSI is making lower highs. So we're coming into this, I'll talk about that in the 12-hour time frame, what we're coming into. But right now we are drawing down off of this high that we set on August 23rd. If we pull up the Super Guppy indicator, we can see we still have not gotten into those green EMAs just yet. And that zone goes all the way from about 45,200 all the way down to about 41,600. So that's going to be the zone of importance for me, and the zone that the bulls will need to hold if they want to continue the rise in price that they're experiencing. I think it's very likely that on the first test we will see a bounce from that zone. So that's something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. If we look at this from a pivots perspective, we can see our main resistance zone above, if we do rise again, is right up at about $51,000. And then we have the R1 down here, which could potentially act as support on a retest, which is right around 46.2. If we go down to the 12-hour time frame, we can see why we're bouncing. It's right off of the level that I've talked about, and I said, I believe on yesterday's video, it's very likely that we will bounce off of this level a second time before going through it if we are to reject through it. And that's exactly what we saw right here. We came into it full force, and we're seeing a very strong bounce off of that level. So now that we've bounced off of this level twice, once here and now once here, this gray support level is getting weaker. So if we come back into it again, it might not hold for the third test. After 2 tests, I start to lose confidence in the support or resistance level. So that's something that I'm keeping in mind. In addition to that, we have the single day red resistance level that we had back here from May 14th that we've already tested twice. So we tested once here, rejected, tested again here, rejected. So if we come into it again here, we could end up pushing through it over time. It's a pretty big resistance level. You can see it goes all the way up to about 51.5. But because we've already tested it twice, it is getting weaker with each test. So if we do end up testing it again, that's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. If we go down to the 6-hour time frame, we can see the level that I talked about yesterday currently holding up as resistance for price. This is from our bear trend here. So whenever we're looking for a support or resistance level, we're always looking for a bear or bull trend. In this case, we have a bear trend, which is a high, low, lower high, lower low pattern. And the last up candle, the last area where people were buying, and you can see that based on the volume. If it's green, that's an up candle. If it's red, it's a down candle. When we see that here, we have our last area where people were buying before this drawdown where we confirm a bear trend. So now what that means is this white candle is our key area to watch because people were buying Bitcoin in this area before the drawdown. But then once we confirm the trend, the people that bought up here are saying, oh, we might actually be going down. So now I have an opportunity to sell my Bitcoin. So this is, you can see with the upper wicks here, at least at the current time, it's looking like we may reject off this level. Now, the other scenario is we push right through this zone. We don't even reject off it. We close 2 candles above it, and then we retest it, and then we bounce off of that. So that's what I'm going to be watching for on Bitcoin on the 6-hour time frame here. You can see that we had a pretty nice bounce here coming off that 12-hour level, coming right into this resistance level. So this is going to be the key area for me in terms of the shorter time frames to keep an eye on, but I'm really concerned with that 3-day candle close like I talked about, and that is going to be critical moving forward in the coming weeks, how that level develops. Because if you develop a 3-day level, like if we go back to the 3-day time frame, this isn't just a 3-day level that's going to, we're going to test once or something and then we're never going to see it again. I mean, it's possible that that could be a thing, but it's more likely you have something like this where we formed this 3-day level back here in May, and this is still an area of concern for us, an area to watch because we had support here, we bounced, we had our support here, we bounced. And once we push through it, now we have to be concerned with it as a resistance level. We get it here, rejection, we get it here, and potentially we might see another rejection. And so if we print this to be a support level, that'll be an area for either price to bounce off of or price to reject off of if we turn it into that area of concern. So that's all I got for this one, guys. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. And if you haven't already, check out our beginner technical analysis course if you're just getting started trading these different crypto assets. This is where you can get 20% off of our course using the link in the description below and learn all of the foundational elements related to technical analysis that may be useful for you, such as candlestick analysis, volume analysis, technical indicators, trends, and a variety of other topics as well. So check that out, and until tomorrow, onward and upward.